ladies and gentlemen. It's the Poojie Podcast. Proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club. What is going on, Pooj crew? Thank you for being here for episode 113 of the Poojie Podcast. Quite possibly the best episode in the last 3 months for us Jags fans here, as the Jaguars met me in the London and got the W over the Dolphins. Beautiful victory, beautiful performance by a lot of players. We have a lot to unpack today. Very exciting performance by the Jaguars, and we hope to bring you an exciting episode today to recap that beautiful game, beautiful win. Just everything's beautiful. I keep saying it. But anyways, if you're watching on YouTube, go find us on a podcast streaming platform. If you're watching on a listening on the go find us on YouTube and subscribe. I want to welcome the guys in. Right now, we have DJ Leggett and we have Jacob joining in as well. Guys, thank you both for joining us.
What is going on? The Jags are on the scoreboard. It's about time.
Sam, Mr. Pessimistic, how are we feeling after the Jaguars shut your ass up last week?
Yeah, we're feeling a lot better than those 1-5 Dolphins, that's for sure. Same record, but completely different mentality in these two locker rooms, I'm sure. So
yeah, they feel like they gave a game away, and we feel like we stole a game and got the W. So, Sam, you look swole, dude. Dude,
I'm fucking pumped. Let's go.
Don't you know? Pump it up. Pump it up.
Bro, being in Cincinnati, watching UCF lose sucked. But their little kickoff song, I'll tell you, it's one of the catchiest.
It was fun, dude. Even in failure, even in defeat.
Yeah, we had the most fun in that stadium, and our team got blown out.
Yeah, dude, all right, one thing. All the Cincinnati fans were, like, sitting down the whole time. Second thing, if you didn't know what the score was, you would have thought we were the team winning by 30 points. Like, it just didn't make sense.
You can't harm us. We've seen the worst. We've seen the best. We were
0-12. We can take a little loss to the number 2 team in the country, Cincinnati. Congrats to them.
Anyway, back to the
fun time up there. I'm glad to see you guys made it back alive. Was very concerned about Sam, but I'm glad he's here.
Me?
Sam, you texted me at like 2 a.m. Sunday morning. Please come back.
Oh,
you said you were with Maddie and you said, please come back. It was like pleading for us to come back. But anyways.
You guys are missing out. I thought y'all would have FOMO on the late night shenanigans, but apparently not.
So
we did plenty at the casino.
Some of you guys had flights earlier than others to leave from Cincinnati. And so like me, Sam, Nick, Teachy,
Aaron.
Aaron. We were watching the game up in a Cincinnati bar. And when we won and we started cheering the end of this 20-game losing streak, I thought about it. I was like, damn, we're in Cincinnati right now. They just see on TV that the Jags just ended this historical streak. What are the odds there's any Jaguar fans in their bar up in Cincinnati? And there was 2 of us. Like, I thought that was probably so random for them. But
you guys were hyped up. And Luke, Verban, and myself, after some flight issues of getting on the same flight, which we ended up getting direct to Orlando in Comfort Plus. So lucky us. That was a lot of fun. We ended up watching it in an airport bar, and we were going crazy. And then the airport bar started clapping for us because they were just excited that we were excited. So we were able to enjoy it with them. But we were there for a UCF game, and then how fitting for a UCF-born kicker, Matthew Wright, first kicker in NFL history to kick 2 field goals over 50 yards in the final 4 minutes of an NFL football game, and he did it in only his 3rd professional game with the Jaguars. 1 to tie the game 20-20, 1 to win the game 23-20, 1 to make Jacob's prediction accurate, 23-20 Jaguars.
Let's go.
How about Matthew Wright? How about those kicking woes going out the window on a nice, beautiful, crisp morning in London?
I think the fact that he kicked those was huge because while being at UCF, I don't think he made a kick longer than like 46 yards. He never really needed to, so I was unsure if he had the leg, but he did. It went outright. It curved back in somehow. I think, B-Dubs hit the button to get us into overtime, and we said, no, we're just going to wait in regulation. But those were big kicks, and unfortunately for, lovers of Josh Lambo, that means he got the boot.
And we're going to win that bitch. We said, we'll stop you on 4th and 1, and we're going to win that bitch. That's what we said.
Yo,
And
how about that play call?
That was clutch.
How about that fourth down play call?
take us through it, Sam. Take us through it.
Right, I think it was 4th and 8. I'm pretty sure it was 4th and 8. So it's not like you can do a quick slant. It's kind of like, it's a play that's got to develop, a little bit. And we only had 5 seconds. So I was reading like the coaching staff didn't even know if they were going to be able to pull it off with the time they had left. They wish they had more time, but great execution by Trevor Lawrence, getting the ball out quick, on target, on time. You're down, 1 second left, and they trot the guy out. Completely caught the defense off guard. I think they were playing really, prevent defense. So they had all their safeties, all their, their guys back, whereas we just cut one under the middle, and it was just such a good play call. I didn't even think of it. And the Jags just aren't really known for doing smart shit like that at the end of games. So it's pretty cool to see.
Here's what the crazy thing is about that play call is we've seen it time and time again where maybe it's like 3rd and 7 and you're on the 45 and you want to pick up 4 yards. So you go to the sideline, right? Like they're playing off coverage. So you go to the sideline. If the Jaguars tried to go to the sideline, they would have ran out of time because the ball would have had to travel that much faster. The only way that play works is if they do exactly what they did. And as Jaguar fans, we know more often than most fan bases, things that we plan to do not go according to plan more often than not. And for something like that to go according exactly to plan was the craziest thing for us. Was not only did we execute the 4th and 8 to get the first down, we got the timeout and we dropped the kicker out there and nailed the game-winning field goal. It was like the stars aligned over Duval County for one day, and we got the victory. Jacob, what about you?
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere that Urban was quoted talking about the analytics of the decision to go for that slant rather than, a Hail Mary or something out of bounds to the sideline. So it's kind of interesting to think they went with, analytics and decision-making on what they should do at the end of the game. Because the rate at which, completing a Hail Mary or getting a sideline catch out of bounds in that time is not likely. But I think that was a great play, one, for the decision, but two, the reason we're applauding the decision is because of the execution we saw from Trevor Lawrence. I think that throw is such a simple throw, but the execution to hit Laviska like he did is very impressive, and it shows that we have a quarterback that, in a clutch situation can, just get the ball where it needs to be quick. It's not, we always compare Gardner Minshew, at least I do, but I don't think he gets that pass off that quick and that hard to get a 1 second timeout in to then kick the game-winning field goal. So to me, it's as much as the decision seems smart, I think it comes to the execution of Trevor hitting Laviska like he did. And it looked like a veteran made the play rather than a rookie in his 6th game.
And honestly, not only that, behind the analytics, Lawrence threw the ball exactly where it needed to be, which was low to get Laviska on the ground to end the play. Because if he throws that ball to the chest and then Visk has to go down or throws it up to where he has to go get it, we're not down in time to call the timeout. Like Laviska literally had to catch that ball on the ground, give up his body, call the timeout, make it work. And that's exactly what happened. But we've said it for the last 5 episodes on here. Throwaway season as it may be from the win-loss standard, whatever, we're not going to be where we want to be as far as wins go. But the one thing we've been constant with is watching the progress of Trevor Lawrence. And I wasn't nervous about the matchup. I was more nervous about, okay, he's going to London. The scheduling is going to be off. That's a big trip. It's a different environment. A lot of British people yelling at you. And he ends up going over there and looking like a veteran. First rookie quarterback in NFL history to win a game in London, which was a pretty big stat for him. Pretty cool to get his first victory as well. And it just shows even more how comfortable he is away from home, even if it is thousands of miles away in a whole nother country. So very exciting. Trevor Lawrence had, let me look at this real quick. 319 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions, complemented by James Robinson, 73 yards on the ground, 4.3 yards per rush, and a touchdown on the ground. So I think Jaguar fans can look at this game as kind of a sign for what to expect moving forward, if not only this season, but for years to come with this dynamic duo in the backfield.
Absolutely. And I think when you look at the stat line, you think, okay, 319 yards. We like to see that. 1 touchdown, 0 picks. That's not necessarily sexy, but I think when you see plays like some of the rollouts he had, pressure coming at him, and he does a quick spin, rolls out, hits a guy, on a dot, and then that play on the 4th and 5, and just there's individual plays, and I'm like, him hitting those plays is almost more important than him having the sexy stat line right away. Those will come as we get the weapons around him acclimated to him, as we get better weapons. But seeing him make some big boy throws and seeing him make some plays that only he can make and maybe a handful of guys in the league can make, that should be what's exciting rather than like, how does his stat line look in wins? The fact that he can make those plays to get us the win, I'm very excited for the future.
A lot to be happy about. Something I want to bring up real quick that we talked about last week, and Sam, I want to loop you into this. Week number 5 against the Titans, Laviska Shenault 1 catch on 3 receptions. Week 6 against the Dolphins, Visk had 6 catches for 54 yards, averaging 9 yards per catch. It was nice to see the Jaguars get him more involved in this game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like they were listening to our pod. They got I was talking shit about Agnew, but that guy actually looks really good out there. He's got great hands and stuff. But, I mean, it's just so weird how he's like our number, I don't know, whatever.
Number 39 out there running receiver routes.
I think whatever his past is, I say ignore that. If he's starting to make plays for us in these kind of situations, you need to like hone in on that rather than
he's our speed guy. Yeah.
We don't have that. That's him.
Right. We had Etienne, and then we had, Philip Dorsett, I think, that was who they were trying to fit in there. And then now it's like we found a fit. This guy can actually catch. He can, he's young, he's got speed, and him and Trevor, seem to be on time with most things. So that's nice to see him progress.
Yeah, it was great to see after a week of us talking about us getting, Agnew involved and Tavon Austin involved, which I'm on board with the Agnew thing. Jacob, I think you hit the nail on the head. Leave it in the past. His history in the NFL is with the Lions, not with the Jaguars. So from this point moving forward, he's a different player. Like, players change schemes and they change their talent level, and it's that simple. But to get Marvin Jones 7 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, beautiful touchdown right before the half too. Like that's a big momentum swing to take into halftime, coming straight from, a turnover on the Dolphins. And then you have 2-minute drive for Trevor Lawrence to march the team down there. Like that's huge. 7 catches, 100 yards, Agnew 5 for 78, and then Shenault 6 for 24. And then even James Robinson 3 for 28 as well in the backfield. So Robinson over 100 total yards for the game, which was nice to see as well. And I know we all love to watch J-Rob punch one in from the 1-yard line. Wasn't that nice to watch?
Yeah, just you have the guy. Just get the push and get him in there. I will say this, though, about Laviska. I'm very happy he got the targets he did. I think he needs those targets. But he did struggle some. I think we saw him drop a couple passes or not get to a couple passes I think he should have gotten. So I think the volume needs to stick, but I think Laviska also needs to step it up a little bit and make sure to clean up some of that, because I think he can be a playmaker, but we don't need him, just barely catching the ball or dropping it. And he's a big piece, and we need him to perform. So I don't know what you guys thought of that.
Go for it, Sam.
No, I like that. And to come full circle to Dan Arnold, he was making really good plays out there too. I think we found a good playmaker over the middle of the field in him. He had a pretty good catch, and then they went right back to him, and it hit him right in the hands down the middle of the field, which would have been a huge gain. And it's almost like he was starting to run before he caught the ball.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, this guy's just going to get better, and I think that him and, Trevor's relationship and connection is going to get really good. And then he'll have that outlet over the middle of the field in the pass catching tight end, which we haven't had in Jacksonville since, Julius Thomas was the closest thing probably. Mercedes, and we don't like, JT, we like Mercedes, but it's like, it's so good to have this guy. And I don't know if you guys saw, but the guy looks like pretty athletic out there.
Extremely.
As far as his size, and then his ability to run after the catch is extremely good. So we're excited to see him progress. And it was sad to see that drop, because after he dropped that, it's like the coaching staff kind of was like, all right, let's reel it back on this guy. Let's pull him, and make sure he doesn't screw up, next week. So
that's
went into the doghouse a little bit.
I think Trevor could have been pushing 400 yards had Dan Arnold and Laviska not, either dropped or not gotten to a couple passes. I think Trevor makes some really good throws that sometimes the receivers don't catch, but they're not bad throws. So, yeah, Dan Arnold's very exciting because he's an athletic tight end, and we've never had an athletic tight end, I don't think, that's actually made plays.
Well, let's get to the defensive side of the ball real quick, because I think ultimately for me, summed up nicely, it's the offense is coming together, and they may have only scored 23 points, but they look like they have chemistry. They look like they look like an NFL offense, and that's something that we've waited a long time for here in Jacksonville. Defensively, this is kind of interesting. I mean, the Dolphins go out and get 430 yards total. Tua has one of his best games of his career, minus that stupid interception he threw that kind of helped swing momentum back to the Jags. He, 325 yards, 354 yards, 77 rushing yards for the Dolphins. So that's nice to see the Jags run defense hold the Dolphins to 77 yards among three running backs too. That's 24 from Brown, 22 from Ahmed, and then 9 from Gaskin. So nice to see them hold the run game in check, including the big 4th and 1 stop at the end of the game that allowed us to get the ball back to get into position to kick that field goal. How are we feeling about this run defense, this defense as a whole?
Yeah, huge play by the defensive line. I don't know. To me, it almost seemed like the Dolphins play calling toward the end of the game was like shittier than the Jags, which is usually the other way around. It was just like, I don't know how they feel about Brian Flores coming out of this game, because he made some questionable calls. And then like that, run stop, I think that, you have the balls. What am I trying to say? It's the end of the game. You want to put your ball in your playmaker's hands. How about you put it in Tua's hands and have him, or, maybe put, I don't know, Jacoby Brissett in. I think you should put it in your playmaker's hands and do that instead of trying to run it up the middle when we've been stopping you guys in the run game, all day. But yeah, I think that was interesting. And then it seemed like just Tua in general looks like more of a rookie than like Trevor did out there. I don't know if you guys did. There was that boneheaded play on 4th down where he throws the ball instead of runs for it, and that gives the ball back. Oh, so
how do we as Jags fans benefit?
insane.
Like, we're usually the ones doing the stupid shit like
Dude,
that.
and it was crazy. It just completely, they were coming down. They were going to score probably at least, a field goal. And then that just kind of gave the ball right back to our offense, which was on fire. And we, took that and ran. And then, but yeah, that was a really boneheaded play. It just seemed like Tua was like, it was like one of his, first 8 games playing, it seemed like. This guy's been in the league for a while. He's been, injured and stuff. But it was nice to see that, like, obviously Trevor's better, but it's like they made a lot of mistakes at the end of the game. I thought our coaching decisions weren't like the best, but they were just making more. So
yeah, and funny thing about that Tua play, throwing it on 4th and 2 when he had the first down in front of him, we're sitting there on the porch upstairs, all of us, and we're watching it, and I think that's when it happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was at the airport. Whatever way I was watching it, someone walked in front of me, and I couldn't see the end of the play, so I saw Tua rolling out. And someone walked in front of me, and I couldn't see the end of the play, but I heard everyone start screaming, like, "What are you doing? That might be the worst play of all time." And I was like, "What happened?" And I'm like, maybe it was Nick. It was probably Nick, let's be real. And I'm like trying to push someone out of the way to see what happened, and they show the replay, and I was in disbelief that happened. I could not understand how second year in the league you don't just run the ball there. Like, you don't just take it for the first down and keep the drive going.
It's not even the second year in the league. It's just like you played football all your life. You just get the first down. It's 4th down.
It's 4th down. Yeah.
That's
crazy.
True.
So yeah, somehow they made some like really crazy decisions or boneheaded plays that we didn't. But Josh Allen, I didn't get to watch and focus on him because we had a lot of moving parts leaving out of Cincinnati that day. But Josh Allen had a pretty good game, both run defense and pass defense. I think I don't know the splits. I didn't see how he played more rushing the passer versus standing up and dropping back. That's so stupid for him. But he also made a lot of big plays in the run game, which is exciting to see since he's not like an overly large, strong body like someone like Jihad Ward or Dwayne Smoot. I think he was getting to the quarterback a lot. I think there was pressure on Tua for the most part. Nevin Lawson got that pick. I think that was a gimme. When are we going to see Cisco? I'm still waiting to see Cisco. I don't know if after the bye week, if he'll get more snaps and we'll see him make some plays, but the defense did enough at the end of the game to allow us to take this win. I just want to see Josh Allen just more at the quarterback and not have to do any coverage.
Yeah, it was definitely a bend don't break kind of defense. Obviously the Dolphins racked up a lot of yards, but the defense did a good job of actually holding them back and keeping them from scoring a lot of points, which was nice. Josh Allen was actually the one that got in the backfield on that 4th and 1 play to blow up the run. So you talk about Josh Allen's defense against the run. He slid right underneath the guard and got right into the backfield and was the first one to hit Malcolm Brown about 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Brown ends up getting right back to the line of scrimmage. So it was nice to see him be a little bit more aggressive going after Tua, going after the run game. And I think the 77 total rushing yards speaks to what this team has done. And I was just looking at the stats. Tua had 22 rushing yards. So if you take away Tua's rushing yards, this defense held Miami's running backs to right around 50 yards. And like that doesn't happen a lot in the NFL, especially when your team's 0-5. And we saw the Ravens pop off for like 200 rushing yards against the Chargers, who are a 5-1 team. So for the Jaguars to step in against the Dolphins and, hold them to 50 yards was phenomenal in my opinion. And it just made me really excited for what we have on the field. Let's get into what this means for the locker room, what this means for the guys. Is this the type of win that kind of erases the past issues that maybe had, between Urban Meyer and some of the players, or Urban Meyer and the national media? Are we finally able to put some of that stuff to bed and say that this team is balled in, or do we think there's still maybe dysfunction, or does winning cure everything?
I don't think one win cures everything. I think right now it makes us forget, but it depends on how things trend. If we win a few games coming up, if we win a handful of games in the next, 5, 6, 7 games, then yeah, we probably forget about that. Team's improving. But if we go and lose another like 5, 6 in a row, eventually people will be upset again, and eventually we'll go back and point to like, oh, this was what Urban Meyer has done and all these things. So I don't think one win erases it. I think it just calms it for now. I don't know. What do you think, Sam? Do you think that's just my opinion?
So would Urban Meyer be on the team if we lost? I think that's a fair question. Would he be? I mean,
yeah, he literally had a bye week.
Because the way I see it is that we were just like, just like a plane that stalled out. We're going down, right? You're bleeding. What this did, I think it stopped the bleeding. I think it just stopped the bleeding, right? It's just all the players now. There's a lot of, anxiety, maybe animosity among them, kind of just like, well, now you can go back to focusing on football. You can focus on being a team again. You know that, Urban's not going anywhere. Let's go into the bye week. Let's forget. You can actually forget about the past. So you don't have to worry or think about everything in the first half of the season. Now it's almost like it's a new season and you're going into it. Whereas I think if we lost, I think there would be a lot of emotion in the team that, or in the locker room even, that would be not beneficial, obviously, for the team. So
yeah, because now we get 2 weeks to enjoy the feeling of a win. Whereas had we lost, you have 2 weeks that you have to mull over a loss, knowing you can't step back on the field and go out and try and win the very next week because the bye week's there. And it's always better to win going into the bye week. Obviously, it's better for morale, better for the locker room, like you mentioned. And I also think it was a big win simply from the standpoint of when a team loses enough, the players kind of get complacent with that feeling. And yeah, they're always going to be hungry. They're playing for money. They're playing for contracts. But at the end of the day, like, if there's no accountability and you just keep losing and losing and losing, but you're still getting that paycheck every day, it becomes one of those things where you feel complacent and it's like, okay, this is just our identity. And the Jaguars have been a losing identity for the longest time. And to get this win and to have a young locker room, a lot of young players contributing on the field, I feel like it helps them know this is what a win feels like. And I don't want to lose this feeling. I want to get back out there. And now we believe we can win. We believe we know we can win. We just did it. We believe we can win. Let's go out there and keep doing this thing.
I mean, you saw it. You saw it as soon as the field goal went through, the excitement from the sideline as they ran out on the field and they were running to the end zone and cheering, like, just because this team right now, a lot of the players weren't a part of the 20-game losing streak, they definitely were hearing about it. They definitely were feeling the weight somewhat of it. And to know that they finally broke that and they can get people off their back is probably just an uplifting feeling, even though not every single player on that team was a part of that losing streak. I think when you think about, like, Shaquille Griffin, he turns this around and says, now they got a taste of it. These guys got a taste of it. I think he's a good enough leader in that locker room that he's going to be in people's ears to make sure, hey, remember what we just did. Remember how that felt. This is who we are. And I'm not going to lie, I'm looking ahead a little bit. I mean, we have a bye week, which is great. They got to rest up. But we're coming out of the bye against the Seattle Seahawks. And normally that's awful for the Jags. But guess what? Probably no Russell Wilson. I'm sure he's not coming back.
Is it a home game?
It's an away game, so we will be traveling. It helps that we have a bye week before we travel once again across country. We're not playing 1 week, then travel. But, like, no Russell Wilson. Chris Carson has been injured and probably won't be back by that game. Alex Collins, their backup, is now injured and maybe won't play this week. I don't know if he'll be back next week. But now we're looking at, okay, maybe if we take some momentum. I know Scott Kornberg from the Jumbo Shrimp does not believe in that. But if we take some momentum going into this next game, we're playing a depleted Seattle Seahawks team. Now we have a quarterback. Can we make this 2 in a row? Can we turn a 1-game outlier into a trend by winning a second game in a row and maybe pushing for a third? I think we play the Bills after that, so ignore that part.
And what's funny about what you just said there is after the Cincinnati game, a lot of people on Twitter were talking about the funny thing is, I think it might have been Brent Martineau. He was like, the funny thing is Jaguar fans are so heartbroken by this loss because it was such a close victory. But the reality is 80% of the games that happen in the NFL on any given week are close games. It's just the fact that the great teams know how to win and find a way to win, and the good teams or the below average teams find ways to lose. And if we can just stay competitive in these games like we have, I mean, we were somewhat competitive with the Titans through the first half. That game was within reach. A missed field goal, we talked about it last week, a missed field goal, missed opportunity at the goal line. We're in these football games. There was a time in our fandom that we would go out to Seattle and lose 51-3, or go out, play San Francisco and London and lose 45-7, whatever it was, the Cowboys. Like, there was a time where the team wasn't competitive. And in my opinion, there's been games this season where we haven't been competitive, but there's been a lot more so far that I think the team has looked like they've put it together. Second thing to that is, I think we know Trevor Lawrence is good enough to win us football games. I think we know James Robinson is good enough to win us football games. I think the big takeaway is I think the team now knows they're good enough to win football games. It's not just one guy. It's not just Trevor Lawrence is good enough or James Robinson's good enough. I think when you look at the game as a whole, from the offensive line, the defensive line, if you win your matchups, if you win your battles and everything comes together, you can win football games no matter what your record is. So that's my big takeaway from this is everyone needs to keep stepping up. The receivers need to keep playing out of their mind. Partially, the receivers playing great because Trevor Lawrence is playing great, and it's that simple. And he's putting the ball where it needs to be. Like, he is putting the ball where it needs to be.
So nice.
We could spend a whole episode talking about Trevor Lawrence. Let's be real.
Fucking good. He's good.
Yeah, and I think during the bye week, it's like good to focus on some other players because now is a great time for some guys that maybe haven't contributed too much, maybe to either get back or get some more snaps. Maybe, like I said, guys like Andre Sisco. I know Quarterman played more in this last game, and while we were playing, better defense, he played. Getting people back, maybe like I think Ben Barch had been hurt, or Tyson Campbell, some guys that were, supposed to be contributing, maybe get healthy, maybe come out refreshed, and we have some new life. And like I said, we're going to be traveling again, but it's nice at least we have a bye week. But let's reassess what went well in the first 6 weeks, what can we improve upon, and how do we look coming out of a bye week? Did we waste time and just rest, or did we actually put in some work and figure out how we can move forward and even improve beyond what we've already done?
Yeah, this is a big moment for this team, a big bye week, obviously much needed. You mentioned a lot of injuries there. the bye weeks this year go all the way to week 14, which is kind of interesting. So the Jaguars really kind of do have an early bye week. If you're playing fantasy football, I'm sure everyone out there is struggling with bye-mageddon, where every player is on bye or injured at some position. I know I'm dealing with it right now. But let's look at some of these other games in week 6, because I think the Jaguars, we summed it up pretty nicely. I mean, just a great team victory, feeling good about it. Obviously, 2 weeks to sit with it before going to play a banged up Seattle Seahawks team. Some of the other good games in week 6, the 1:00 games were kind of bad outside of the Vikings-Panthers game. Do you guys have this feeling that the Vikings are just the type of team that no matter what game they're in, it's just going to be a one-score game? Because that's exactly how I feel, to be honest. Every single Vikings game is just crazy, it feels like, at least this season.
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
Kirk Cousins is in his prime, so I mean, he's a pretty good quarterback. He's in his prime. I mean, he's gonna find if he ends up with the ball at the end of the game, I mean, they'll be able to go down and get some points. So I think having veteran quarterback, mid-30s, early 30s, probably pretty good.
Yeah,
Like
they win that game in overtime, by the way, on a touchdown, 34-28. So
it's like you have weapons like Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook when he's healthy. It's like, imagine if we were playing with Trevor Lawrence having those weapons. Like Kirk Cousins is a very capable quarterback in this league, and you have offense in this league. I don't know what their defense is like year to year, but you can compete at any time.
Probably biggest surprise of the week, Ravens 34, Chargers 6, just an absolute blowout from start to finish. The Ravens, they really look like they're a team coming together, and they look like a force to be reckoned with. Are we afraid of the Ravens right now, especially after the Bills lose to the Titans on Monday Night Football? Are we claiming that the Ravens could be a team to watch out for in the AFC?
I mean, I think absolutely.
Right?
What'd you say?
I said they've always been a team. Like, what changed this year, right? I mean, like
I think they got off to a slow start, and I think some people were doubting their long-term sustainability. People going back to the whole Lamar Jackson, can he be a passer?
Right.
Because this team won 34-6, but they won on the ground. Like they were, on the ground running the ball. The Chargers' worst run defense in the league. So what does that say? Does that tell us anything about the team or anything about Lamar, or what's the thoughts from you, Jacob?
I mean, I think sometimes people look at Lamar Jackson, and as great as he is, they sometimes still have a guard against saying he's as good as he is, because he does elect to run sometimes more often than pass. But we saw it, he threw for 400 yards in a game. He's a very capable passer. It's almost like, with other quarterbacks, they pass very well, and then that opens up maybe a 10-yard run for them. Where for Lamar Jackson, he runs and makes these crazy jukes and gets these yards, but then, he gets people zoned in on their run game, and that probably opens up the pass for him. I think that's where it comes. Sometimes, we had a friend asking us, Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson, who would you want to start your franchise with? And some of us said Justin Herbert, just because, like I said, we're hesitant for a quarterback that doesn't necessarily look to throw always as the number one option. I think that's what holds back Lamar Jackson in people's minds, but it should never hold him back on the field. He's just an all-star playmaker, and when you have that, and when you have their defense and you have their run game, they're always in it, in my opinion, no matter who they're playing.
Yeah, because no one would expect, seeing that score, that Justin Herbert had more passing yards than Lamar Jackson.
Well, okay, so in the first quarter, I mean, the Ravens got the ball, and then the next time that the Chargers got the ball, there was 4 minutes left in the first quarter. So it's just they just didn't let the Chargers do what they do, and they just kept the ball out of his hands and did exactly what they probably game planned to do. And yeah, Lamar Jackson's good. He can throw the ball too.
And they got all your main running backs too. And then Latavius Murray was probably on your fantasy team as a starter.
Your favorites, yeah.
Devontae Freeman had a big couple runs. Le'Veon Bell, I think he was wearing number 17, scored a touchdown. Who's that receiver?
Had no idea who it was.
Bell.
No idea who it was.
They just got some playmakers, even some past their prime, but they just ran it down their throat.
Well, the game of the evening, Cowboys at Patriots. A lot of people were watching this one. Patriots are only 2-4, so people want to ride Mac Jones all they want. They're only one win better than Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars right now. Patriots 2-4, losing 35-29 in overtime to the Cowboys. Did you guys get a chance to see the ending of this game?
We were actually in the airport, but I did catch that final play, that game-winning play.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, we were same in the airport, so I was trying to watch as much as I could, but didn't see anything crazy. I just know it went down to the very end, and then a field goal.
So
for Greg the Leg.
So it was whatever the score was, 20. I can't even remember what the score was. All I know is this: it looked like the Cowboys just shattered away to the Patriots. The Patriots were marching down the field with the lead, and Mac Jones throws an interception. Trevon Diggs, first player in NFL history to have an interception in his first 6 games, takes it back to the house. Then the very next play, Mac Jones, 75-yard touchdown to Osborne on Trevon Diggs. So
that
Diggs
was
just
impressive.
did a pick
I heard
six.
about that.
Mac Jones then throws one to Osborne on Trevon Diggs for a touchdown. So they go back up, and then Greg the Leg comes back to tie up for the field goal. And then the Cowboys get the dub in overtime, 35-29. So right now in the NFC, after that Chargers loss, it really looks like it's the Cardinals, the Bucks, and the Cowboys right now as the teams to watch coming out of the NFC at least through 6 weeks. They look like the front runners.
Yeah, and I mean the Cardinals, I'm looking at it right now, 37-14 against the Browns. The Browns were missing, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt got hurt. They're not at full strength with that run game, but I think the Arizona Cardinals are legit. They're not that kind of backyard offense that, it looked like. We got to see if it actually works in the NFL with Kyler. I think they are very scary. I think when you have guys that can catch like Hopkins and Kirk, and they have Rondell Moore, but then they have Kyler Murray.
And AJ Green.
Team. And AJ Green. I can't forget Aj Green.
Green. Yeah, they're a team to look out for. The Browns are all banged up. They got Kareem Hunt out for a few weeks, so I know Sam's happy about that with fantasy. Remember 2 weeks ago when he was like, "What if I would have traded Kareem Hunt to you?" Well, now Leonard Fournette looks healthy and Kareem Hunt doesn't. So,
classic fucking fantasy.
I know, right? Anyway, hey, Sunday Night Football. I'm not afraid to say it right now. Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL, and I feel like people are going to want to talk around that and find reasons to say no. But ultimately, if you have him in your fantasy team, you're likely the number 1 team in the league. That's the case in our league. And if you have him on your NFL team, you're likely in every ball game, especially Sunday night. Titans win 34-31 over the Bills, which a lot of people were very surprised by. But this Titan team seems to show up for these types of big games and play well. And that's exactly what happened. Thoughts on that? I was a little upset being a Jags fan watching the Titans win, but not watching Derrick Henry. I mean, he's fun to watch.
I think that's the main X factor is their struggles with Ryan Tannehill and, injuries with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. And at the end of the day, a good defense in Buffalo, Derrick Henry just shows you why he's arguably the best in the league. And, if he's continues on a pace, could eventually just become a Hall of Famer. He's a big dude in a league of big men. He's bigger than a lot of those big guys, and he, puts a pounding on them. And all of a sudden, he hits a hole that shoots out for like 50+ yards, whatever. Like you just think he gets stopped, and he's getting banged up. But no, he's a battering ram that's eventually busting through that wall, storming the castle and hitting the end zone. He is the battering ram, not the other way around where the defense is taking hits on him.
I think a lot of defenders just take bad angles on him. I don't think they think he's as fast as he is. And a lot of people just take bad angles, and he just is like, get off me, little boy.
I also think I heard his touchdown run, he hit a top speed of all running backs in the NFL this year. So not only is he that big and strong, but he's still fast. He doesn't always look like he's like running super fast, but he's just a big guy. So that combination, they can play against anybody because of him, even when the rest of the team around him might not be like hitting on all cylinders.
Anything from you, Sam?
No, I was just gonna say that run where he busted was just so good.
Well, let's
I just wish.
it was
Why
really
we
good.
gotta play?
No,
in
no,
person?
dude, just the speed to like split the safeties, like you said, then taking bad angles. But the problem is like you take a bad angle, you have to go low. Like he's just gonna stiff arm you into the turf. And if you try to go high, I mean, you better like be coming like, you better be really coming at him, up high to actually take him. I mean, you saw the run where the safety like actually met him in the midfield and he just like ran him over. And then that safety was just like, I'm never going to like do this again. Like this is
Remember when Andrew Wingard tried to tackle him?
dude, there's a montage of Andrew Winger tackles where he's just making business decisions left and right, just diving at the legs, just like flying. Like you'll see him fly across the screen and just like not anywhere near like where Derrick Henry was. So just fucking go for it. Derrick Henry just slightly like decreases or increases his speed, and like you're screwed because you're either gonna have to go low or you're gonna have to try to tackle him around like the arms, and then he's just gonna like push you away. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, we all remember the Derrick Henry 99-yard run where he busted on freaking Telvin Smith and Miles Jack and freaking all kinds of defenders on our team where he threw them off in different like moves or whatever. Anyway. So.
And the other crazy thing is that like normally, and I'm thinking like a fantasy football aspect, when guys get the amount of touches that Derrick Henry gets, you're usually told to watch out for him the next year because there's a lot of wear and tear on the body. They're likely not going to perform. And I think some people thought that at the beginning.
Well, that's what they said. Yeah, that's what everyone said. That's why he dropped to like 5th mid-round.
Exactly.
Like,
but he's an alien. He's like one of the Avatar people come down to Earth and is playing football. It doesn't apply to him. We'll see if he's getting like an astronomical amount of carries this year again, and we'll see if like even next year if it affects him or not. I'm curious.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, he is an anomaly in a sport where Dalvin Cook can't stay healthy, Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy, Darrell Henderson, Chris Carson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Saquon Barkley. Like these guys are like top round picks. He's the only one that manages to get out unscathed. But let's take a look at Week 7 real quick before we hang it up for the evening. Look at some Week 7 games real quick. Let's touch on this one real quick. Broncos at Browns. I just want to ask you guys, per request of one of our followers, one of our viewers, what do you guys think with the Broncos-Browns game? Who pulls out victorious there behind Case Keenum and the Browns?
The old Case Keenum versus Teddy Bridgewater battle, just everyone's favorite matchup of quarterbacks.
It's a former American Athletic Conference battle between the Louisville Teddy Bridgewaters and the Houston Keenums.
I mean, it's not like the Browns are just going to forget how to run the ball. They still got they got backups, but like their scheme is, it's going to be the same. They're going to run the ball and they're going to run it efficiently. And it's up to, Teddy Bridgewater and that passing attack. I mean, their defense, Denver's defense, they played like 5 teams in the first part of the year that were like, or 4 teams, their first 4 games were like bottom, 10 teams in the league. So now they're actually facing some good teams. They're starting to, not look as elite as everyone was saying at the beginning of the year. So I think it's up to Teddy Bridgewater to keep the pressure on and to actually be able to score points. And their wide receivers are pretty good, and Teddy Bridgewater's looking pretty good. So if it was me personally, I'd be taking the Browns just because of that scheme. That defense, I think, is personally better. But I don't know. What do you guys
Where
think?
are they playing?
It's in Cleveland.
I was gonna say because like Cleveland's obviously not at full strength with some of their guys, but I think Cortland Sutton's been making more plays over the coming weeks, and Javonte Williams has been making plays. So it's like with that defense and some of those guys and Teddy Bridgewater, I think it'll be a close game. But like Sam said, the Browns just know how to run the ball, and even without their top stars, I feel like they still do. So it'll probably be a close game, and maybe one of the quarterbacks has to just make a play to see who wins the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Broncos here just because it's a short week for the Browns to try and regroup and get healthy and get Case Keenum on the right path. I mean, they have 3 less days really to get prepared. With a new quarterback in there, no Kareem Hunt, no Nick Chubb, allegedly. they still have some receivers, obviously, but I'm just going to go with the Broncos. I feel like this is the type of game the Broncos will come in and, win something, let's say like 27-24. It's going to be a 3-point game, I think, either way. But all right, let's move on to the three-piece combo meal real quick. Didn't get one out last week by way of traveling to Cincinnati and completely forgot. So
Dude.
Let's get it out this week to make Sam happy. 1 o'clock games this week.
I've never played before. I always forget. So
well, you always text me. You're always texting me your picks. So Panthers at Giants. Oh, let's explain it for people real quick. If you want to join in on the contest, Instagram at the Poojie Podcast. It's the 3-piece combo meal on Sunday afternoons. We typically post it on Thursday or Friday. Screenshot it, fill it out, edit it. 9 picks. You have to pick the winner of the game, the over-under, and the total turnovers. Whoever gets the most of the 9 correct wins some Poojie Podcast merchandise, either a hat or a shirt. So go check us out on Instagram at the Poojie Podcast. But Week 7 schedule, Panthers at Giants, Jets at Patriots, Chiefs at Titans, Washington at Packers, Falcons at Dolphins, Bengals at Ravens. Which game are we liking here, boys?
What do you say, Sam? I have one in my head.
Yo, I had one. I think it's the Ravens versus Cincinnati. Everyone, is gonna call the Ravens to win it, right? Because they're just Cincinnati's daddy, right? Well, I think this year Cincinnati has kind of like a different feel to them. Everyone's healthy on that team. Their O-line is playing very well, with Jonah Williams and their new pick. But I think that this could potentially get closer than most people realize. That Ravens just coming off a huge win. The Bengals seeming to be ramping up. They have everyone healthy on their wide receiver core. So I personally think it's going to be a close game, but I mean, Vegas and everyone else would probably tell you differently. So
what about you, Jacob?
I'm not going to lie. I was thinking the Chiefs Titans, but Sam kind of sold me on his pick. So I might agree with him. I figured the Titans, Derrick Henry we were just talking about. Maybe we'll see a resurgence from Ryan Tannehill with his weapons back, but not a great pass defense from the Chiefs, but still Patrick Mahomes. But I do kind of want to see we have a divisional matchup. The Ravens and the Bengals, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. It could be a close game, and not many people think that. So I think I'm going to go with Sam's pick too.
I like it. I mean, I like it. We've done Kansas City before in the past.
Right. It's no fun.
Sam, boring. You don't even play.
Right, but I do it. I fill it all fucking out, and then I forget to send it in. It's just a waste of my time. And I'll be like, I'm going to check this Sunday morning.
Oh, I hear you. You want to tinker with it. So yeah. Cincinnati at Baltimore. Baltimore coming off a huge win in Week 6, obviously. So let's see what we got for the 4 o'clock games. We have, come on, work for me. Oh no, it's going away. Oh, here we go. Lions at Rams. That's a barn burner. Eagles at Raiders. Texans at Cardinals. Bears at Bucks. Jeez.
I think
what was the NFL thinking with this?
I think one of those games. Yeah, I think the Eagles Raiders might have to be the one by default.
Eagles.
So who do you got winning that game?
Is Devin watching? It depends on is Devin watching.
I'd probably go with Vegas. I mean, they looked so good, but they were playing the Broncos. I don't know. I have no clue.
Let's do that.
Perfect. What, dude? This week in the NFL sucks. This Sunday night game, Colts at Niners,
because the Jags aren't playing.
Go. Who do you think's winning that game? I mean, that'll be a good one too.
That will be a good one. I'll go Colts in that one, to be honest.
Really?
Actually, it's in San Francisco.
We need
back too. They got Jimmy Garoppolo back.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. So those are the 3 games: Bengals at Ravens, 1 o'clock; Eagles at Raiders, 4 o'clock; Colts at Niners, 8 o'clock. Again, go find us on Instagram at the Poojie Podcast. Screenshot it, fill it out, put it on your story, tag us in it. Maybe tag a friend that you want to play as well, and it'll be fun. You just got to get 9 picks correct, or the most of 9 picks correct, and you get some merchandise from the Poojie Podcast. You guys up to anything this bye week? Any fun plans this weekend to celebrate not having to watch the Jaguars, or celebrating the win that the Jaguars provided before the bye week?
I think I'm just gonna relax. I've had a couple straight busy weeks and weekends. So
Did
I
you
might
say a
just
couple straight bender weekends?
no busy weekends.
Oh.
Damn sure.
Might as well be both. UCF game, Cincinnati trip, the
Great.
works.
I like it. Sam, what about you?
Nah, nothing really. Just did some car repair stuff, but other than that,
I like it.
Mm.
I like
I
it.
just
Well, next
wanna-
week we won't have any Jaguar game to talk about, so come ready to talk about all the other NFL games that happen and
be watching.
preview a big West Coast trip against the Seahawks for episode 114. But anything else from you guys before we hang it up for the evening?
Yeah, I just kind of want to bring up. I was looking at this because I was curious with Derrick Henry, talking about his workload. Last year he played 16 games. He had 378 carries. That is, I don't know if that led the league because if it didn't, that's crazy. He has 162 carries already through 6 games. And if you were to play 16 games, that would be 432 carries this year. That's what he's on pace for. If he only plays 16, but we have a 17-game schedule, so even more. So when we talk about this guy's workload, if he can do this twice in a row,
That's a big load.
What'd you say?
So that's a big load right there for a guy that size. Just
Pause.
Okay.
Yep.
That is absurd numbers, and that's why running backs don't last. But I'm pretty sure he's leading the NFL in rushing by like 200 yards, if not more.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's
Let me look real quick.
He's
Here it
got
is.
Twice as many putters than everyone else. Twice.
Here it is. Ready? 250 yards exactly, leading the NFL. He's at 783. Nick Chubb's at 523. Zeke's at 521. He has 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, twice as many as the 10 tutters. It's been 6.
Do you want to know who's in second? Twice as
Yeah,
many.
James Robinson.
James Robinson, baby.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, guys. Well, on that note, we will let you go for the evening. Fans out there listening, thank you for checking in to episode 113 of the Poojie Podcast. Go enjoy the rest of your week. Go enjoy your weekend. Bye week for the Jags. Maybe watch some college football. A lot of good football happening this weekend. A lot of good sports, playoff baseball going on. Basketball's back. Hockey's been back, but Texas is still not back. So whatever you do this weekend, go make this world a better place and take care.
How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man?